blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is P. Fitz, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the current issues of the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Bill would set age limit to buy e-bikes. This is by John Whitaker. A Tonawanda Democrat is proposing to prevent the sale of e-bikes and e-scooters or motor-driven cycles to anyone under the age of 16 years. Assemblyman William Conrad, Democrat of Tonawanda, recently introduced legislation, piece number A9201, that would require buyers of some personal mobility devices to show proof of age when purchasing the equipment. Proof of a driver's license would be required to purchase any e-bike that can go faster than 28 miles an hour. Conrad also would define motor-driven cycles in a new section of state law and then apply the same age and licensing requirements to them. Current law requires that operators of e-bikes and e-scooters must be at least 16 years old. Conrad said a loophole exists in state law because children under the age of 16, can purchase e-bikes and e-scooters even though state law doesn't allow children under 16 to ride the devices. Children under 16 should not use e-bikes because they lack the necessary physical and cognitive maturity to handle the higher speeds and greater weight, which increases the risk of serious accidents and injuries, Conrad wrote in his legislative justification. The faster speeds, which can exceed 20 miles an hour, lead to more severe injuries like head and extremity fractures when accidents occur and a higher rate of hospitalization compared to traditional bicycles. Additionally, young riders may not fully understand traffic rules, have poor judgment, or possess the required spatial awareness to navigate safely alongside vehicles and pedestrians. Conrad introduced A9201 in concert with 3 other pieces of legislation, all of which are similar to other bills that have been proposed over the past few years and not been signed into law. A9197 would require license plates for certain bicycles with electric assist and electric scooters. A9209 would require manufacturers shipping electric assist bicycles, electric scooters to provide lights, and legislative article A9213 would require operators of bicycles with electric assist, electric motors, and motor-driven cycles to wear protective headgear. Governor Kathy Hochul did sign a package of bills in July of 2024 to improve e-bike and lithium-ion battery safety, though House bills were driven by safety hazards created by substandard batteries that caused several fires in New York City. Only one of the bills dealt with safe ridership of e-bikes. Senate 744 and D and A8310-C requires retailers to affix a notice to any bicycles with electric assist and micro-mobility devices, which states to always yield to pedestrians and follow traffic laws. This legislation also authorizes that any retail entity who violates the law may be penalized with a fine of no more than $250 per unit for the first offense, and not more than $1,000 for each subsequent offense. The town of East Aurora has passed a town law stating parents can be charged if their child under the age of 16 is found riding an e-bike, whether parents are present at the time or not. From the editor's corner, electric equation, a real shock for consumers. Once the Sheridan Town Board did its due diligence months ago in approving a new solar farm for 2979 Middle Road, words of encouragement were expressed to the developer, RIC Energy. I don't see any problems with the town board member, Colleen Yuriko said. It's the first one that did everything. It's surprising that you are being so accurate about it. That's good. Remarks of praise do not come at a price. Do not come at a price. Taxpayers or payments in lieu of taxes do. While renewable companies continue to sink their teeth into rebates and government subsidies, customers who rely on the grid throughout Western New York continue to pay a higher price. Shortly after Sheridan's approval, RIC Energy made their pitch for a pilot at the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency meeting. While there's no promise of lasting jobs at any of these sites, just panels of sun catchers, RIC Energy has become experts at pleading to not pay the same tax rates as homeowners and small shops. Small shops across New York. They have established solar sites in 27 counties in the state, including Chautauqua, Erie, and Cattaraugus. Decades ago, this was not the way it worked. Massive power plants through coal or nuclear paid big bucks to the communities and schools where they were located through tax bills. There also was stability with rates since electricity was being produced at home and not imported from Canada or nearby states. Through the state's energy transmission, coupled with rising inflation, customers are now thinking twice when turning on the lights. A recent New York Times article found that over the last 7 years, the average price for a kilowatt hour has increased by 13.3% in the Empire State. As a nation, the rise does not even begin to put us at the top. California's rate was up 33.7%, while Maine followed at 27.2%. Also in the mix were West Virginia, up 10.3%, and Pennsylvania, up 7.3%. For the mid-Atlantic states, the rise in rates has shock value. Pennsylvania, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, is the second largest net supplier after Texas of total energy to other states. West Virginia is nearly as prolific. In 2023, coal-fired electric power plants around the accounted for 86% of the total electricity generation. Renewable energy sources, primarily wind energy and hydroelectric power, contributed 7%. And natural gas also provided about 7% of the energy. The energy agency reported. Yet these three Atlantic states are struggling when it comes to the price of electricity. Worse yet, higher costs locally are likely on the way. In August, the Public Service Commission approved a 20% rate increase for National Grid over 3 years. We recognize that this proposal comes at a time when affordability is top of the mind for our customers, said Phil Discicco, CICCO, National Grid's New York General Counsel, in the spring. We worked hard to strike a balance that prioritizes energy affordability and ensures grid resiliency, especially in light of the record number of damaging storms we've seen in upstate New York, while defending other programs and initiatives that would add to our customers' bills. National Grid says a chunk of National Grid says a chunk of the hike will go towards critical investments to ensure the reliability and safe operation of the company's energy delivery system that serves 2.3 million upstate New York residential and business customers, including capital investments of $1.4 billion in the electricity delivery system and $351 million in the natural gas system in the first year. Those upgrades, however, are part of a decision made in February of 2023 by the Public Service Commission. At that time, for more than 60 minutes, Commission members discussed $6.6 billion in transmission upgrades that are designed to reduce congestion as called for by Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. Environment was the key factor to the 4-2 approval. The dissents worried about costs. Today that pain is obvious. One of the National Grid's hike was approved. AARP of New York took note of a growing inability for residents to keep up with utility costs. In April, the organization reported more than 230,000 households in National Grid's service territory were 60 days or more behind on their utility bills, owing more than $350 million, and nearly 60,000 households had received a final termination notice due to non-payment. Though the Sheridan site work is still in the early stages, another county solar effort is on hold. Within the last month, work has stalled near the Pennsylvania border. Due to the current state of the economy, The costs to construct this project have increased far beyond the company's estimates, despite our best efforts, noted a letter signed by South Ripley Solar Project Manager Alex Spiridakis. There are several factors impacting the project, including import tariffs, high interest rates, and federal trade policies that bring uncertainty to cost of the material. Overall, Spiridakis remarks do not just impact the town or the work, they are also a bad omen for customers who are seeking relief from runaway electricity prices. John DiAgostino is editor of the Post-Journal Observer and the Times Observer in Warren, Pennsylvania. Send comments to J. D'Agostino at observertoday.com. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. It's 16 minutes after the hour. City to declare nuclear interest. John DiAgostino. Within the coming week, it is expected the city of Dunkirk will be responding to a request for information by the New York Power Authority regarding its interest in hosting an advanced nuclear project. State Governor Kathy Hochul in June called on the Power Authority to develop at least 1 gigawatt of nuclear capacity in upstate to address growing reliability, affordability, and clean energy capacity concerns. Since the announcement, the area's leadership has been galvanized in repurposing the former NRG coal-burning plant for this option. Following reports that Governor Hochul has directed the New York Power Authority to build a nuclear power plant in upstate New York, I support this common sense approach to provide reliable, affordable, and clean energy in the form of nuclear power. However, I'm calling on her to make the NRG power plant site in Dunkirk one of the selected locations. State Senator George Borrello of Sunset Bay said shortly after the announcement. Both City of Dunkirk and Chautauqua County officials indicated this week they were nearing completion of their application, which is due Thursday. I'm guessing that would be the 11th of December. The filing must include at least one site with strong potential for a nuclear new build as it relates to size, water access, and protection from external hazards. It also must demonstrate support from community members and key stakeholders. Dunkirk Mayor Kate Wojciechowicz also has indicated an interest in having the plant at the former NRG site. The city of Dunkirk stands ready to be part of that conversation, recognizing the potential economic revitalization and long-term environmental benefits such a project could bring, she said. In July, she and the city held a public meeting on the topic of hosting a nuclear plant in the city. While concerns were noted, there also was sentiment for the project happening. By issuing the RFI request for information, NYPA has formalized a process to receive information from interested communities and learn more about potential sites that meet the requirements for hosting a nuclear power facility. The RFI will shape the Power Authority's nuclear initiative, aligning it with stakeholder feedback and local economic and social objectives. At the Power Authority, we recognize that the success of the transformative advanced nuclear initiative hinges on our ability to collaborate with communities, governmental agencies, and at the state and federal level, and the private sector, said Justin E. Driscoll, New York Power Authority President and CEO. Through these requests for information, we aim to gather input from developers and communities across upstate New York to shape our approach to site selection and partnerships that provide the greatest value for New York. Together we can achieve an abundant power supply that supports New York's economy, fosters job creation, and furthers the clean energy transition. Responses will help NYPA and potential development partners identify and prioritize communities that are both technically suitable and willing to host a nuclear facility. Efforts for finding a location for a nuclear site are very early in the process. New York State is hoping to have a path to delivering 1 gigawatt of advanced nuclear capacity as soon as possible. However, the request for information for interested developers notes the hope of construction beginning by 2033. NRG remains in possession of the dormant facility at the moment. However, county officials have indicated they have been in communication with the company since it released, since it ceased operations in at the location in 2016. Constellation Energy owns 9 Mile Point Units 1 and 2 and the James A. Fitzpatrick plants located in Oswego County along Lake Ontario waterfront. Those sites have been in operation since 1970. Fred Basket lists December hours. On Saturday, December 20th, Fred Basket, previously known as the Fredonia Food Pantry, will be open from 10 a.m. until noon at Fredonia Presbyterian Church at 219 Central Ave. Additionally, it is open on Wednesdays from 12:30 to 4:30 p.m. Guests may only receive 1 helping a month. These new hours hope to serve those who cannot attend on Saturdays. On Saturdays, the food pantry serves the needs of residents of Fredonia, zip code 14063, Pomfret, Sheridan, and Leona. All guests receive one or more bags of non-perishable food. The number of bags given depends on family size. The pantry will be closed on Wednesday, December 24th and December 31st, but will reopen Tuesday, December 23rd and the 30th instead. Control board, this is an observer's view. Dunkirk Control Board remains best path. Following a scathing report last month by Comptroller's Office on the 26th Dunkirk budget, proposal for 2026, State Senator George Borrello reiterated a call once again for a control board. The report makes one thing unmistakably clear. My call for a financial control board was not only warranted, it was necessary, said Borrello, a Republican of Sunset Bay. In light of these findings, I will be renewing my push for a control board in the 2026 legislative session to ensure the responsible oversight and fiscal discipline that Dunkirk taxpayers deserve. At the moment, city leaders have given their blessing on the current plan and have until Monday, December 15th to finalize it. Dunkirk, a city of 12,400 residents, has a spending plan of nearly $30 million. In 2024, its 2024 crisis that led to a deficit of $16 million proves the unsustainability of the municipality. Anyone who is not close to the situation can see it. Over the summer, the city received a $13.7 million loan to pay off all previous advance on funds to pay off the previous advance on funds to the state. If budgeting was not a problem, then that bailout by Governor Hochul would have never had to happen. City officials worry about the expense of a control board. It has been estimated that the cost could be $1 million. Trust us, that is very doable if the city can justify spending $29.5 million for next year. And that figure will not go down in the future unless new oversight occurs. Then it can justify that $1 million price tag to right-size operations. Tough decisions will never be made in City Hall, no matter who is elected to office. It's obvious those actions will have to come from someone on the outside. Health Department unveils strategy to expand its adoption of AI technology. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on Thursday outlined a strategy to expand its use of artificial intelligence, building on the Trump administration's enthusiastic embrace of the rapidly advancing technology, while raising questions about how health information would be protected. HHS billed the plan as a first step focused largely on making its work more efficient and coordinating AI adoption across divisions. But the 20-page document also teased some grander plans to promote AI innovation, including the analysis of patient health data and in drug development. For too long, our department has been bogged down by bureaucracy and busy work. Deputy HHS Secretary Jim O'Neill wrote in an introduction to the strategy. It is time to tear down these barriers to progress and unite in our use of technology to make America healthy again. The new strategy signals how leaders across the Trump administration have embraced AI innovation, encouraging employees across the federal workforce to use chatbots and AI assistants for their daily tasks. A generative AI technology made significant leaps under President Joe Biden's administration. He issued as an executive order to establish guardrails for their use. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. It's 31 minutes past the hour. Guardrails. But when President Donald Trump came into office, he repealed that order, and his administration has sought to remove barriers to the use of AI across the federal government. Experts said the administration's willingness to modernize government operations presents both opportunities and risks. Some said the AI innovation within Health and Human Services demanded rigorous standards because it was dealing with sensitive data and questioned whether those would be met under the leadership of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Some in Kennedy's own Make America Health Again movement have also voiced concerns about tech companies having access to people's personal information. Strategy encourages AI use across the department. HHS's new plan calls for embracing a try-first culture to help staff become more productive and capable. Through the use of AI earlier this year, HHS made the popular AI model ChatGPT available to every employee in the department. The document identifies 5 key pillars for its AI strategy moving forward, including creating a governance structure that manages risk, designing a suite of AI resources for use across the department, empowering employees to use AI tools, funding programs to set standards for the use of AI in research and development, and incorporating AI in public health and patient care. It says HHS divisions are already working on promoting the use of AI to deliver personalized, context-aware health guidance to patients by securely accessing and assessing and interpreting their medical records in real time. Some of Kennedy's Make America Healthy Again movement have expressed concerns about the use of AI tools to analyze health data, and say they aren't comfortable with the U.S. Health Department working with high-tech companies to access people's personal information. HHS previously faced criticism for pushing legal boundaries in its sharing of sensitive data when it handed over Medicaid recipients' personal health data to Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials. Experts question how the department will ensure sensitive medical data is protected. Oren Etzioni, an artificial intelligence expert who founded a nonprofit to fight political deepfakes, said HHS's enthusiasm for using AI in healthcare was worth celebrating, but warned that speed shouldn't come at the expense of safety. The HHS strategy lays out ambitious goals: centralized data infrastructure, rapid deployment of AI tools, and an AI-enabled workforce. But ambition brings risk when dealing with the most sensitive data Americans have, their health information, he said. Etzioni said the strategies call for gold standard science, risk assessments, and transparency in AI development appear to be positive signs. But he said he doubted whether HHS could meet those standards under the leadership of Kennedy, who he said has often flouted rigor in scientific principles. Darrell West, senior fellow in the Brookings Institution's Center for Technology Innovation, noted the document promises to strengthen risk management but doesn't include detailed information about how that will be done. There are a lot of unanswered questions about how sensitive medical information will be handled and the way data will be shared, he said. Hearing for $70 million project is Wednesday. Okay, that was yesterday. This is by Gregory Bacon. Another public hearing took place regarding a proposed $70 million development project at the former Chautauqua Point golf course. On this last evening at 7:30 p.m. was a public hearing on the planned unit development project by Elegant Development called Sunset View, located at 5621 East Lake Road in DeWittville. In October, a public hearing was held on the proposed project. At the meeting, there were two attorneys who objected that the public hearing was taking place before the State Environmental Quality Review Act determination, or SEQRA, had been made. One attorney was Joe Calamari, representing some residents of Point Chautauqua, and the other one was Stephen Daly with Citizen Environmental Law, PLLC, who said he was representing an unspecified group of residents called Chautauqua Protest. In November, attorney Sean Hopkins, representing Ellicott Development, acknowledged that after reviewing the town code, it does appear that the public hearing must take place after the SEQR determination. Hopkins submitted a draft of environmental studies and requested the town board make an SEQR determination at its December meeting. He further requested a public hearing to take place at the same meeting after the SEQR determination is made. In a separate matter, with the project, Hopkins noted they have proposed a publicly accessible seasonal boat dock. It originally was to have 70 boat slips. After receiving feedback from the Army Corps of Engineers and the State Department of Environmental Conservation, they reduced that number to a maximum of 40 boat slips. In September, the Chautauqua Town Zoning Board of Appeals recommended Ellicott Development receive a special use permit to move forward with the $70 million project, which would have single-family homes, townhomes, condominiums, and a restaurant / tap house. The overall development would be managed by a homeowners association. The project has been discussed publicly since August of 2024. Developers have been pushing for a vote on a special use permit to take place soon so they can begin construction in 2026. A man has been charged with abuse abuse case with dogs. There's a picture of a dog in a kennel cage. One of the 19 dogs at the Chautauqua County Humane Society. Observer staff report. A Sinclairville man was charged last week after 15 dogs were found living in deplorable conditions along with 4 puppies. Chautauqua County Sheriff's Department reported Monday that around 9 a.m. Wednesday, deputies and the Chautauqua County Humane Society responded to an address on Edson Road in the town of Gary for a report of animal abuse and neglect filed through the Humane Society. Once deputies arrived, they spoke with Mark Coppola, 64, who was the owner of the dogs on the property. The report examines lessons learned from the June 2025, wrong article. The department then executed a search warrant at the residence and discovered the dogs. Chautauqua County Humane Society staff immediately transported the animals to the shelter, where medical exams were performed. 6 have officially been surrendered to the Humane Society and are available for a foster to adopt, but all 19 are in their care until a court decision is reached on the case. All the dogs were living in feces on concrete floors with no bedding in any of the dog houses and did not have access to water inside the kennels. Coppola was charged with 19 counts of overdriving, torturing, and injuring animals, and failure to provide proper sustenance. He was released and will return to court later. There were 19 dogs taken, and overall, with 4 of them being puppies. 6 have officially been surrendered to the Humane Society and are available to foster, to adopt, but all 19 are in their care until the court decision. Our number of dogs has doubled overnight. Kelly Johnson, Chautauqua County Humane Society Animal Care and Facilities Manager, said once the dogs arrived. Johnson said the amount of work for staff has doubled, with extra work as well as including for basic medical care, such as vaccinations. At a normal time, the Humane Society has 18 kennels and 4 pods open for dogs, with the average number of dogs in the shelter being between 21 and 25. The additional 19 dogs has now doubled the amount the shelter has on a daily basis. The Humane Society is urgently looking for people to be willing to foster to adopt, the 6 surrendered dogs from the case, or foster or adopt any other dog currently in the shelter. Johnson said they would like to get them out of the shelter and to a better environment, especially as the situation has been scary for them already. She added, getting them into homes where they can be loved and socialized is the goal. All 19 dogs taken in are Vizzles, a breed maybe, and were mostly used for breeding purposes. The type of breed is Vizslas, Vizslas. These dogs are not aggressive, but they are scared, Johnson said. They need to learn that they are able to be loved and get attention. Right now, they're only able to foster to adopt and have not been spayed or neutered, but we are in the process of working on that. You are listening to reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. It's 47 minutes after the hour. Coat closet leader roams area looking for homeless to help, by M.J. Stafford. Mary Rosario started a coat closet for homeless people in October, but quickly realized she needed to rethink her plan. Day after day, nobody would show up, she said, during an interview at the coat closet located in the old school building at St. Anthony's Church in Fredonia. I said to my husband, the homeless are too far out. We have to get out to them. I prayed and a light bulb went off in my head. Rosario's vision, find the homeless and distribute coats to them. There's a picture of Mary Rosario with racks of coats under the heading Spreading Warmth. They want to get out to the homeless. She doesn't drive, so her husband, Jose, enlisted in the effort. Jose drives her around Dunkirk and Fredonia looking for homeless people to help. Rosario keeps notes on where they hang out. She looks in places such as parks and libraries. Rosario estimates she has distributed coat closet clothes to about 100 people. With winter at hand, her focus right now is on cold weather items such as coats, boots, and gloves. She is hoping and praying for 31 more pairs of boots. They are very, very hard to get. People don't want to give those up. They wear them until the end. Donations trickle in, but Rosario has received 2 large shipments of clothes, including one enabled by the St. Vincent de Paul Society. They approached me last Friday after Mass and said, "Want to go to Walmart?" I asked when, and they said right now. I said, "Sure." Rosario starts piles of clothes for each individual she helps, showing her notes with lists of items for each person. They're so thankful, she said. They say, "God bless you. Thank you, God, you're doing this. Thank God you're doing this." Similar to the people it serves, the coat closet's future is unclear. Rosario has reminded in October, when she got approval from the Lord's Vineyard of Catholic churches for the closet, that St. Anthony's Church is closing next year. The coat closet will have to move out of St. Anthony's former school building in February. People plead with me for a place to sleep, she said sadly. I say, "I have nowhere to put you. My church has nowhere. I'm temporary where I am right now, and I'm in a building just until February. Then the heat and water go off." Rosario commented, "It's so sad, my heart just goes out to these people. A lot of them don't want to be where they are." Rosario is wary of simply dropping off piles of clothes in public, so she tries to set up appointments with people at the coat closet. However, she said that it is a challenge. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Is a challenge because homeless people often don't have transportation. I say to them, "We'll figure something out. I promise you, just give me a little time." From the community notebook, there will be a meatloaf dinner set for Saturday or for December 20th. The St. John's Church is having its famous meatloaf dinner. It will be served from 4:30 to 6. Eat in or take out at $13. That includes dessert. Church is located at 733 Central Ave, Dunkirk. Walk-ins are welcome, but reservations are strongly suggested. You may call 716-366-0710. Santa stop in Forestville. Santa Claus is coming to the Forestville Fire Hall on Saturday. He'll be there from 6 to 8 p.m. There will be hot cocoa, cookies, and treats from Santa. Children can make their own ornaments for their tree. In addition, the Boy Scouts will be selling hot dogs and hamburgers. Shop Local Authors event is also on Saturday. The Shop Local Authors event will be at the Next Chapter bookstore in Fredonia on Saturday the 13th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Catherine DeAgostino, Rebecca Cuthbert, Nick Smith, and Pauline Chow will sign and sell books, including newly published titles. There will be cookies and gift wrap services available. Brockton Portland Seniors Meet. The Brockton Portland Seniors celebrated its holiday, the holiday at its November 25th meeting at Tri-Church Parish, East Main Street, with President Margaret Jagoda presiding. Donald Carlson shared a prayer of thanksgiving, and Laurel Giambra led the Pledge of Allegiance with 62 members. The band check 1, 2, 3. Kathy, Rick, and Matt entertained with songs through the years. Committee of the Day members thanked were Oliver Becker, Edie Seekins, Marilyn Flint, Debbie Gillis, Sadie Terrell, Jean Jack Woodquith, Patty Farrell, Barb Crandall. They set up and served the St. Joseph's catered beef, unweck, green beans, macaroni. You missed a good time. Sorry. Magnitude 7.6 quake triggers a tsunami on Japan coast. Tokyo. A powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck late Monday off northern Japan, triggering a tsunami of up to 70 centimeters or 27 inches in Pacific Coast communities and warnings of potentially higher surges, the Japanese Meteorological Agency said. Several people were injured, media reports said. The quake struck at about 11:15 p.m. In the Pacific Ocean, about 80 kilometers, 50 miles off the coast of Omori, the northernmost prefecture of Japan, main Honshu Island, the agency said. A tsunami of 70 centimeters was measured in Kuji Port in Awate Prefecture, just south of Omori, and tsunami levels up to 50 centimeters struck on other coastal communities in the region, the agency reported. They issued an alert for potential tsunami surges of up to 3 meters or 10 feet in some areas, and the Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kahara urged residents to immediately head to higher ground or take shelter inside buildings or evacuation centers until the alert is lifted. Several people were injured at a hotel in Omori, town of Hachinoi, and a man in the town of Tohoku was slightly hurt when his car fell into a hole, public broadcaster NHK reported. Kahara said nuclear power plants in the region were conducting safety checks so that no problems had been detected. Several cases of fires were reported in an area of about with 90,000 residents were advised to take shelter at evacuation centers. Satoshi Kato, a vice principal of public high school in the area, told NHK that he was at home when the quake struck and that glasses and bowls fell and smashed into chairs on the floor. Kato said that he drove to the school because it was designated an evacuation center, and on the way he encountered traffic jams and car accidents as panicked people tried to flee. Nobody had yet come to the school to take shelter. Prime Minister Takachi, in a brief comment to reporters, said the government set up an emergency task force to urgently assess the extent of the damage. We're putting people's lives first and doing everything we can. The quake struck about 80 kilometers or 50 miles north of the east shoreline. It's just north of the Japanese coast. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the current issues of the Dunkirk Observer. We read these every Saturday at noon. Your reader has been P. Fitz. Thank you for listening and your patience.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of our Northtown Bee papers, which includes Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Depew, and Lancaster. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print